Greetings, everyone. I'm Norman Bolter, and this is Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection 11, Video 3. And as you know, this video series is talking about making the most of what you have. So perhaps some of you have taken the suggestion from the other video about writing down what you have. What you actually have. Now, it's a pretty giant thing once you start getting into it. And we started in video number 2 talking about time, energy, and awareness. These are things that we have, and we know that time can seem rather limited. And sometimes our energy feels pretty limited. And sometimes because of our energy may be feeling limited, our awareness might be affected. And so there were some suggestions made about how to enhance awareness and create more energy in ourselves. Well, let's look at time just for a second in the practice room. The practice room. Now that's a very important time for a musician, a performing artist of any kind. They're working on refining their art, developing their art in all sorts of different kinds of ways, right? Isn't that what we're doing in the practice room? Either that or we're worrying about, wow, we don't feel ready to play in our next lesson or the big concert coming up. So how to make the most out of that practice time, because that's something that we have or need to make room in our schedule to have it. One of the things of making the most out of our practice time is to have sufficient energy and awareness about what we're doing so we can feel like we got something done. And let's also have the attitude that sometimes it might not feel like we got a lot done. And that's a good time sometimes to reflect and say, well, did I not make the most out of that time? Did I waste time or not use it as effectively as I could have? Was I unorganized in my thoughts? Perhaps I was trying to take on too much and didn't make the most out of a small bit. So the whole phrase, sometimes less is more, is very valuable and certainly pertinent to what we're talking about with practice time. Cramming never gets a lot done. Just, okay, I have to do this etude and that excerpt and that solo for my next lesson, and I have 45 minutes, and I got to, jump to it and make the most out of it immediately, blah, blah. And just run it through, and you're not even warmed up. You're not warmed up mentally, emotionally, and physically to actually make the most out of 45 minutes. So my feeling is, another thing to think about with this is to go slow to go fast. In other words, taking a certain bit and really working on it. Even if it's for a short period of time, this is going to help maximize what you get out of that time, making the most of your energy and being with it, being with it. So let's say we have 45 minutes and we're thinking, oh, this isn't enough time. Fair enough. First, we have to tune ourselves to the circumstance. Okay, we've just jumped off a bus, let's say, ran up the stairs, grabbed our instrument, finally found a practice room at school. Let's use this scenario. It seems that's the universal scenario for musicians at a conservatory or university trying to find practice rooms. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But let's say you finally got one. You had to kick someone out. They're not very happy about it. Hopefully you had the authority to do that. But anyway, the point is that you finally get settled from the fact that you have a room. But then you have to get yourself physically, mentally aligned. And this is where taking the time and doing a few deep breaths. You know, we talk about breathing all the time, playing the trombone. But certain kinds of breathing also can help relax and let go of stress and create more clarity. And clarity, for me, I'm finding out even more and more, happens when there's greater simplicity. Yes, well, sorry, I'm adjusting things at the same time because the light keeps changing. Simplicity creates clarity because it doesn't get so complicated. Now I'm all for looking into the intricacies and what would appear to be complexities, but I need to be focused to do it. And this is called tuning and connecting to what you need to do. So I might take a few deep breaths. Try it. Ready? Through the nose. And sometimes I'll let the inhale last for 4 or 5 beats, and I'll let the exhale last maybe for 8 beats. There's many variations on this. And after 3 or 4 times, and I'm imagining my stress go to my feet, just everything go through and out through the feet. And this can be very, very useful. And then I might say, okay, here's a particular exercise. And I'm going to just, maybe can't even start with the exercise right away. Maybe I have to warm up a little bit. So let's say getting yourself settled mentally, getting a little bit organized about what you want to do. You've taken the breaths, the body feels like it just didn't come off of a bus running up the stairs. You have the piece of music in front of you. And you're going to look and see what you're going to do. You might do a few warm-up things. So let's say all this time takes 15 minutes or 20 out of your 45. Well, okay. How much time do you have left then? 20 minutes? 25 minutes? 30. Let's say you have a half hour left if you've taken 15 minutes. Or 25 minutes. You'll still make more out of your time if you let yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally adjust. Have something that you want to work on and say, okay, I have a few things to work on. I'm going to spend 10 minutes with each one because now let's say you have a half hour left. And maybe you'll spend time on 2 things for 15 minutes. Start playing them after you feel like you can. Play the sections that you feel like you can play. And then move on gradually to more difficulty. Look at some of the sections that you don't feel that quite ready yet for. You're not feeling great about them. They never feel quite right. Never be afraid to play them slower, even though you can play them faster. And this will help acclimate you to the piece and give you a chance to work on the difficulties without feeling like you're in a terrible rush. Believe me, I'm a master at being in a rush in certain things. And when I catch myself, I go, hello, wake up. As my wife would say, when you're in that position and you're all scattered, you're not in. You're not in what you're doing. You're not really embracing what you're doing. And of course, that means you're not aware of what you're doing. And that eats up a lot of energy when you're scattered and rushing. And of course, what does that mean? It just ate your practice time. So make the most out of your tea time. T meaning time, E meaning energy, and A meaning awareness. So when you think of your practice as tea time, get your tea together. TEA. By allowing yourself to settle, to connect to what you want to do, and you will for sure get a lot more done. Happy practicing.